Hey guys, so I forgot one important thing from the video that I posted yesterday from the woman who contacted me who found out that her boyfriend was a pedophile and was trying to figure this out through the lens of a lot of the Neville Goddard stuff that is not really Neville Goddard, but that people have twisted and used Neville to justify saying, such as that you create the person that you're with. So if you're with a pedophile, you created them to be a pedophile, and along with the fact that you created them is sort of this sense of obligation and responsibility to then fix it. I'll link to that video. I don't want to rehash that. That's going to piss me off. But I forgot the one, I think the biggest thing that she asked actually in this post that she sent, or this message she sent me, which was, I can't believe I didn't bring this up, which was, is his desire even bad, since Neville says all desire comes from God? Okay. The people that are making videos in this community, especially the people that are talking on forums, like anybody can say anything on forums. You can't even see their face to see if they look like some derelict who can't even manage to take care of themselves, you know. Anybody can say anything. So if you're reading what somebody thinks that means, or what they say that means, be careful. Be careful, especially if you can't see the person who is telling you things. If you're going to just adopt what someone else thinks without thinking for yourself in that way, fully trusting yourself in that way, you have to be completely and totally sure that the person that you're taking your thoughts from, that whose thoughts you're adopting, have any clue. And this includes Neville. If you're going to replace your own thinking and your own thoughts, and just sort of blindly follow Neville Goddard, which is what so many people are doing, it's clear, you have to at least, I mean, if you're gonna do that and you don't want to be an idiot, you have to at least go and read everything the guy said in his own words, not just what some other person told you that he said or told you that he meant, okay? And that includes me. But I'm confident that anybody who is remotely sane, who goes and reads all of Neville Goddard's works, who reads all of his lectures, and then filters that through their own experience and all the other things that they've heard spiritual teachers say, I'm confident that anybody who does that will have a much more moderate approach, something that doesn't look like such a huge deviation from the right and wrong that we've always understood, from the human relationships that we've always understood, because what he's saying is not that far off. And unless you cherry pick one little sentence here without reading all the surrounding context, that's what so many people do. They have this stance on something, and then they take one little two-line thing from Neville to like drive it home, or to say like, look, I'm right. Neville says I'm right. If you read all of Neville Goddard's works, one thing that will, I think, stand out to you is that Neville speaks in absolutes throughout. It's everything, everyone, all, none, nothing, anything is possible, all these things. He says anything is possible throughout all of his works. However, if you read Neville, if you like read all of his stuff, he goes on to condition all of that. He tells you can't control death. He tells you that you're in a human body with human limitations. Limitations mean not everything is possible. Neville just had a way of speaking that a lot of people have, where it's just, he uses certain language, but sort of expects you to read between the lines and apply some amount of common sense to it in some ways. And even in parts of his books, he's like, you can't use common sense in manifesting. And what he means is you can't, look at, there's a recession and I'm unemployed. Common sense would say it's going to be hard for me to get a job. I think that's actually an actual example that he used. He basically said, anything is possible if you can conceive of it in your imagination. And the next paragraph was, so you're unemployed and it's a recession? Like, if you don't read the whole thing, if you don't read all of Neville, you're not going to get it. And you're going to spend your time living in a fantasy world. And unfortunately, living in a fantasy world doesn't produce a different 3D reality, because this isn't about living in a fantasy world. It's about deliberately intending and creating things in your life, not just living in la la land delusionally. There's a difference between those two things. And honestly, if you don't know the difference between those two things, you should err on the side of the life that you've known. Okay? That's my advice. But, so back to the topic at hand. Desires are of God. All desires are from God, okay? So there's another absolute that Neville uses. So what you have to understand about that statement is that there is a difference. If you read all of Neville, you'll understand there's a difference between what Neville considers to be a true desire that's from God and some other thing, like a compulsion, an urge, a lust, a revenge lust, okay? And here's actually in one of his lectures, this is why you really need to read all of Neville. If you're going to use Neville as your North Star, you really need to understand what you're doing. At the end of one of his lectures, there's Q&A. He always has like a time where people can ask questions. And a guy says, so if I want to murder somebody, is that a desire from God? And Neville's response to that is, you don't want to murder him. Your desire isn't for murder. It's just to be free of this man, and you can't see any other way. Okay, so that alone, if you're using Neville as some sort of justification for your desire that I think, morals are a gray area, but, if you want to murder somebody, or if you're going to try to classify your pedophilia as a desire from God, or, my personal favorite, the people who seem to see nothing wrong with the idea of breaking up a family, they want to manifest, and I know 100% they'll be unsuccessful, so I don't give a shit. I just find the notion to be kind of gross. These people that I want this person, but they're married. How do I break that family up? What do I do to get that person? And there's just no scruples there whatsoever. There's just no, nothing grounded in reality at all about the implications of that for everybody else involved. I don't remember Neville telling people to break up relationships. I don't remember him telling people to murder people. I don't remember him telling pedophiles to just go ahead and your desire's from God, so go for it. Who cares if you're completely mentally destroying a child? Not all things that you could consider define as a desire are from God. And that's, I think, just something for you personally to think about. You don't need to take on my opinions about that, but this is sort of like the ability to read between the lines when you're reading something, the ability to comprehend things, which is very difficult to do if you're reading a paragraph here, a paragraph there, a paragraph there, that some desperate person is using to justify doing something grody. Read Neville. I think that's going to be my message here at the end of every video from now on. I know a ton of people are finding this because I put Neville Goddard in the title of every video now, so that the Neville people can find me and hopefully actually understand what he was saying and use it. It's like I'm so negative because I put limits on things. You guys, my life is fucking awesome. I created deliberately through manifestation every fucking thing I have before I ever read a word of Neville. This shit is real, and Neville Goddard is not the dude that came up with it. And if you think that Neville is saying something wildly different than any of the other manifestation teachers, including Esther Hicks, Bob Proctor, who else? I don't know. If you think that it's way different, there's always people on the Neville Goddard subreddit, which I'm a mod of now, by the way. I'm a mod on that sub. So come and write some shit. And there needs to be some good content on that sub. It's gotten kind of, it's just gotten kind of repetitive, and there's not much new going on there. What was I saying? So if you see a big difference between Neville and, these bigger teachers, people on the Neville Goddard subreddit always say, that's what I'm saying, that, that's LOA, that's not Neville, that's law of attraction, that, you guys, Neville talks all about vibration, and there is no freaking difference, I'm telling you, other than the way Neville spoke and the fact that he was a little bit further beyond all of the material manifesting, believe it or not. I mean, people look at him as you can create all the crap in the world that you want. When I view, I found him at the point where I already had all the stuff I wanted, and found the spirituality, the part of his books that appealed to me were the part that sort of illuminated this connection with God, that like everybody is God, and this is all just, you know, one big collective. You know, it just spoke to me in a way that had never spoken to me before, where I was still seeing separation. It's sealed that off for me. I realized, like, at this human level, it's chaos, but we're all just like reintegrating together. That's what this is. That's what the end point is here. It made me feel like there was a purpose here that I didn't feel there was before. You know, this sort of returning to this state of God that is like bliss and peace and ecstasy all the time. And all I need to know is that that is like a faint light at the end of the tunnel, and it makes me happy, and it changed my life and gave it meaning in a way that it didn't have before. To me, that's what Neville is. It's not manifesting all this crap. Like, if you just want to manifest crap, go read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. I attribute all of my material success to that. Like, not Neville. Neville would have confused the fuck out of me if I read him 20 years ago. So anyway, no big difference between Neville and all these other people. It's a misunderstanding of his use of language, and that is it. So anyway, no, your desires that you probably classify as being low rent are not of God. Okay, I was gonna end this video, but I want to talk about, I will end this video and make a different video about, I want to talk about how I've approached my desires, because I, like everyone, have true desires from God, and then I have desires from ego, and I have desires, you know, for justice and vengeful thoughts and all that thing, just like everybody else, all those things just like everybody else. And for me, it's pretty easy at this point to tell what's what. And if you're at least aware of what is what, it changes your perception of those things. That's not to say that desires that are not of God will not manifest, because we know that they do. Look at Hitler, right? You know, Hitler was an excellent manifester. He created this whole thing. When you read about Hitler and how my dad spent like the last 20 years of his life knee deep in trying to figure Hitler out. Read every single thing about this guy's psychology, and so I have this peripheral, you know, exposure. But this guy was like, had a vision, and it came to life, and look at the destructive effect it had. Now, whether or not that matters, you know, from a perspective of none of this is real, irrelevant. Like, in pure world terms, what that guy did was horrific. So obviously it's not like there's a fail safe there. You can create bad things just as good as you can create, just as easily as you can create good things. But, you know, this is just, to sort of, I think, say that there has to be some level of a moral judgment by you based on your own code of ethics. So when it comes to the pedophile and whether or not his desires are from God, that came from Neville. Neville would not say, I'm confident, that the pedophile's desires are from God. Okay? That's not to say that Neville would say the pedophile can't make his pedophile dreams a reality, because I'm pretty sure Neville would say he absolutely could. He absolutely did, I guess. I don't know. He could probably do a lot of destructive things with his desires if he were skilled enough. People do all the time. There's horrific murderers that never get caught, that do, you know. So, but that does not make it okay by almost anyone's standards. And so if you find pedophilia wrong, then that person's desire, I think, is perfectly fine for you to judge and decide to move away from. All right, I will end it there. Have a great day.